Well, hello and welcome to episode number 449 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. In this week's show, we've got coffee causing chaos. Yes, that's 3 C's. Chaotic tweets and crazy passengers. Blimey, there's a lot of C's in that sentence. In the military this week, we I'll talk about the A-10s, U-2s, Apaches, MiG-29s, and even a Messerschmitt or two. So, joining me this week, a crossover in the sprawling Buckinghamshire countryside is, of course, the legend that is BA man, Neville Bounds.
Yes, I am back. I have returned from various trips. Where have I been since I last saw you? Edinburgh, very nice, very busy. Quick hop over to Jersey the real story was to take Mrs. Nev over there for a couple of days, but I also did a quick recce for the air display coming up in September, which Carlos and I will be doing, which will be great. And then I went to Sweden for a few days on business, straight after Jersey, actually, so I really shouldn't have bothered going home from the airport, but I thought it might be bad form leaving Mrs. Nev to find her own way home. So I came all the way home, and then got up at 3:30 in the morning for a 7 o'clock departure to Stockholm.
Now, I know, Nev, you sent me a few pictures last week when you were in Jersey. It did look absolutely stunning.
Oh, it was the weather. Honestly, the Channel Islands generally gets weather which is opposite from that of the UK. So if it's nice here, it's not so nice there, and vice versa. And I would think probably Richard Adams in the Isle of Wight would say the same thing. You've got that sort of microclimate where you've got some very, very nice weather. And we had it. I mean, it could not have been better. It looked like the Mediterranean just looking at the sky. Absolutely beautiful. So that was nice.
And actually, on that subject, Nev, about the Jersey Air Show, we've been noticing, haven't we, over the last sort of week or so, they've added some really good acts to this year's air show over in Jersey, haven't they? Yes,
they have. I don't have the list in front of me at the moment, but if you look at the Jersey International Air Display page on Facebook, they are updating it as they get new acts confirmed. But yeah, we're really looking forward to it again, and all we hope for is some nice weather. Mm-hmm. So I can't wait. We've got all the flights booked, hotels booked, rental car booked. Everything's booked, really. Just waiting for September.
Just waiting for September
14th to come around.
Yeah. So for those of you who follow us on Facebook, on social medias, I did put last week the list of the air shows that we're attending, or the team is attending this year. Cosford, Duxford, Jersey, obviously, and what's the other one, Nev? Cosford, Jersey, Duxford. There was another one, I think, lurking in there.
The Norwich.
The Norwich, that's it. Yeah, the Norwich Aviation Museum on our doorstep here, holding a Wings and Wheels Day. So we'll be there as well, which was, if you guys remember, was the home of our 100th show. We done our live 100th episode back at Norwich about 1 million years ago when it was really cold, but we'll be back there as well. So if you've not seen the list yet, it is, as I said, on our Facebook page. If you look for Plain Talking UK, you'll see the list of the bits and pieces we're doing there. And I think, Nev, we're going to try and squeeze a few more little extras in at some point during the year, aren't we? We're going to do some visits to some airfields.
Yeah. Let's see how we get on. But yes, that's the plan. There's one thing I was going to mention. Of course, when I'm flying, there's normally an incident of some sort, isn't there? Baggage mishandling or missed takeoff slot, or the usual business. Well, on this occasion, something new happened. The sort of stuff that you see on Instagram and Facebook.
In vertical
as
mode.
We pulled on to a remote stand at Heathrow, which is nothing unusual, coming back from Stockholm, Arlanda the other day. The captain said, we're just waiting for some buses. Would you mind sitting down and keeping your seatbelts fastened up? I thought it's a slightly unusual thing to say, but we all complied with it. But we sat there for about nearly 10 minutes with the buses already there and our seatbelts still on, which I thought, something's going on here. Sure enough, the in-flight lead went back into the part of the cabin that I wouldn't normally occupy, and asked a gentleman to accompany him to the front of the aircraft, which he very did in a very compliant way. And then the next thing we know, two burly fellas from SO18 are outside with their handcuffs. SO18 is the Heathrow Police Special Operations Team. Put him in handcuffs and led him down the steps. So I thought, well, that's unusual. But what was even more unusual is that he was obviously there's now a bus to take us to the terminal, but he was on the same bus as we were as well. So, but at least the two fellas kept him in check and just made sure he didn't do anything silly. But I don't know what it was about. I don't know whether it was a passenger disturbance on the plane. I don't know whether it was some kind of passport irregularity or what it was. Didn't seem drunk or anything like that, so I don't think it was that. But yeah, full marks to the airline, British Airways, for getting him off the plane sensibly, and also for not having the police actually, get onto the aircraft, because that's never a good thing when that happens, is it? So the cabin crew or the in-flight lead brought this fella very gently up to the front of the aircraft, where he was met by the boys in blue.
Richard Adams is saying, Nev, he won't try nicking your seat 1A from you again then.
Well, it's a good, it's a reasonable point, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, that was quite interesting. That's never happened before. It was quite funny. There was somebody sitting opposite me who was very keen to get off the aircraft. This is before all this happened. And she said, well, why have we parked on a remote stand? She shouts quite loudly to the in-flight lead. And he said, well, because, the main stands are occupied. Well, when I fly on Virgin, we don't park on a remote stand. How I didn't say something, I will never know. But anyway, I'm sure you do when you're flying Virgin, occasionally park on a remote stand. Anyway, there you go. So that was my little bit of news from Thursday afternoon.
Nev. Well, at least you had an eventful flight. I mean, you've been first-hand now experiencing now about these stories that we cover so frequently on the show.
Well, this is why I need to do more flying, so we've got more content for the show. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for that, Nev. We need to get you, definitely need to get you on a Ryanair flight. We need to get you on ASAP. Yeah, totally.
Any ideas for where you want to send Nev on a Ryanair flight? Let us know. Podcast at planetalkinguk.com. Anyway, going to say hello to everyone who's joined us in the chat room this evening. All the usual wonderful faces in there tonight. Mazoos, hello to you in there joining us tonight. Captain Cruz as well is in. Arnie Carlson's in there. He's checked in nice and early today. We've got Dirk S. Hello to you, Dirk. Our main man, Uncle Micah, he's in there wielding the blue spanner of doom to make sure all those naughty people get kicked out. Hobby Time, hello to you, Hobby Time. Good to see you in there as well. We've got Sam Dawson. Hello, Sam. Good to see you in there as well. Richard Adams. Hello to you, Richard. Nice to see you as well. Ian. Hello, Ian Aitchison. Good to see you as well in there. Bill. Bill's in there. He's chilling out this evening. Good to see you in there. And Aaron P. and Alan White as well. Captain Ridiculous Wits is in the chat room. Mark Priestley, hello to you, sir. Make sure I don't miss anyone out. No, I don't think I've missed anyone out. Have I missed anyone out? Masha, hello to you, Masha. She's in the chat room as well. And good evening to everyone who's joined us this evening for the live show. Don't forget, if you're listening to our Voices in the World of YouTube, you can go or if you're listening to our Voices in the World of iTunes, you can check us out on YouTube every Friday night from 7 o'clock here, where we'll be bringing you all the latest news. And you can join us in the chat room. And don't forget to subscribe as well and give us a follow while you're on the YouTube page. Now, Nev, we've got loads of news to get through tonight, haven't we? So, shall we do some
I think
news,
we need to get on with it a bit sharpish. Otherwise, we won't have time for the military, and that would be appalling, wouldn't it?
It would be. Well, let's do it.
Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
Now we're going to kick off with a first little a note here that Armando's put on our show notes for the top of the show tonight, and it's all about mental health. Just a little bit here for anyone who listens to the show. We always say that aviation is a second family to those of any sort of involvement in it. Whether you're a professional or you only listen to this podcast, it's true. This week, a lot of this family around the world found out about the tragic suicide of a flight attendant in the US. We're not going to go into details as we feel it's been highly publicised already, but we do want to have just a small chat around mental health and support. There are many organisations, helplines available to offer support and guidance for those struggling with mental health difficulties. And important to remember that help is available and that you're not alone. If you or someone you know is struggling with their mental health, please do reach out for support. Together we can create a world where mental health challenges are understood, accepted and supported. In aviation in particular, there are huge support networks and resources out there, even focused specifically on particular professions. For cabin crew, the Air Appy is a professional non-profit focused to promote and advocate for the mental health of flight attendants. They provide a text line through WhatsApp to anyone in need anonymously, and that's WhatsApp crew, so you can to +1 833 532 1096, and you can see even more resources at gettingtherapy.org/resources. We'll put these notes in the show notes as well for this show. It's okay not to be okay, and seeking support for your mental health struggles is a brave and courageous step. Remember, you're not alone, and there are many resources available to you. Whether you're struggling with depression, anxiety, or thoughts of suicide, or struggles with sexual orientation or identity, substance abuse, or any other mental health challenges, reaching out for help is an act of strength, not weakness. And if you need to reach out to your aviation family, well, we're always here. In the UK, there's plenty of mental health organisations, including Shout, which you can text on 85258. There's Mental Health Matters. There's Calm as well, which I know a very good friend of mine raised a lot of money a few years ago for Calm. Papyrus as well, and there's also the Samaritans here in the UK, which most of you will have heard of. So just a little note there at the top of the show, and thanks for Armando for putting that together for us this week. So, moving on, commercial news this week. First story comes to us from yahoo.com, and this is, well, it's all about pilots on a budget airline grounded after a photo of their cockpit coffee break goes viral and sparks major concerns. So 2 pilots working for an Indian budget carrier, SpiceJet, have been grounded after a photo of their coffee break went viral. An image that circulated wildly on social media in recent days showed an uncovered cup with the airline's logo on the side, full of what appears to be either tea or coffee, balanced precariously close to the airplane's control levers. It also showed one of the pilots holding a gulia, a sweet pastry usually made to celebrate the festival of Holi, which took place on March the 8th. The second pilot has a pastry balanced on the plane's controls, and the pilots' faces were not shown in the picture. According to Indian media, the picture was taken on board a domestic flight between Delhi and Guwahati last week as the plane was cruising at around 600 miles per hour. On Tuesday, India's aviation regulator, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation, demanded that SpiceJet identify the 2 pilots in the photograph and take action against them. The DGCA's involvement resulted in both pilots being suspended from flying by the airline. The company representative confirmed in a statement to the Times of India that both pilots had been taken off the airline's roster while an inquiry was carried out. They said that SpiceJet has a strict policy for consumption of food inside the cockpit, which is adhered to by all flight crew, and the representative said that appropriate disciplinary action would be taken upon completion of the investigation. So there's been a few past incidents. Having liquids so close to an aircraft's control system have been found to be hazardous and could damage electronic equipment or even result in engine failure. Between 2019 and 2022, Airbus jets suffered mid-air engine shutdowns and were forced to divert after drinks were spilled spilled in the cockpit. A separate case in 2019 saw a Condor flight in Germany, which was heading to Mexico, diverted to Ireland after a pilot spilled coffee on the aircraft's controls. And in 2020, the EU's aviation regulator amended Airbus's A350 manuals to include designated liquid-free zones. Ooh, Nev, someone's made a boo-boo.
Yeah. Well, you know, why post it on social media? I mean, it's mad, isn't it? And then, well, better still, don't do it in the first place. What aircraft was it? Was it an Airbus?
I think it's a 320.
Yeah, 320.
Yeah.
Well, it's got a nice table, hasn't it? Why put it down by where the engine cut-off switches are and in that sort of quadrant area? It's just ridiculous. I don't know. I mean, these things happen, don't they? But you would have thought that somebody should have taken a sensible pill somewhere. Just don't do this stuff, because I must say, coming back from Stockholm on Thursday, the air was perfectly still, and then suddenly we hit quite a lot of lumpy air, I would say. It didn't last very long, but my coffee did go all over the shop, and I was holding it in my hand. You know, goodness knows what would have happened if it had been, you know, stuck down in where the throttle quadrant is on an aircraft, for example. So, yeah.
Do you remember that? Do you remember that story, Nev? It was a A330 MRTT, the multi-role tanker transport, and that guy, the pilot, had the camera. Did you remember reading that story?
Yes.
And the camera got knocked down, and it restricted the movement of the side stick. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, even so, not just hot drinks and food. It's camera equipment as well. And if you've seen the size of Nev's camera, then you wouldn't want that stuck down the side of your control column.
Yes, I hope you weren't going to mention that, but yeah, there we go. Anyway,
Nev,
so
you've got the next one.
The next story, another weird one. It's story 2, so it's Ryanair, obviously, on theindependent.co.uk, and it says, Ryanair trolls passenger over height in a savage tweet. Ryanair has trolled a passenger on Twitter who appeared to be complaining about the limited legroom on his flight. Passenger Steve Merry posted a picture of his knees pressed against the seat in front with the caption, "I'm only 5'7" at Ryanair." Well, the low-cost carrier retweeted Mr. Merry's post and picked up on him, describing his height in inches rather than feet, due to using a double apostrophe instead of a single one. Oh, yeah, the grammar, honestly. Ryanair then cheekily asked, "You going to update your Tinder profile then?" The budget airline's online innuendo has garnered almost 60,000 likes since it was shared on the 15th of March, and people were quick to comment underneath the sarcastic response. Clapping back, Mr. Murray replied, "It's all about personality. We believe you, Steve," Ryanair joked back. In one response, Ryanair's apparent trolling, a user asked, "How is this a real company? Because planes," came the Ryanair social media's account replies. However, others disputed Mr. Merry's complaint about legroom. "I'm 5'10" and I fit perfectly fine in your seats," one user said. "But I'm confused. Is that person 5 inches? They added, to which Ryanair replied, "Yes." Another person also made the mistake of confusing the different symbols for feet and inches, saying, "I'm 6'3", pal. It's fine. Sit up properly and don't slouch. You'll ruin your back otherwise." In a Tinder-themed reply, one user pointed out, although he doesn't have room to swipe left. I don't know what that means. Others appreciated Ryanair's sense of humour, with one person writing, "Great banter. I'm only here to see Ryanair's social media team having a good time," another added. Ryanair is known for its social media sarcasm and has a history of online trolling. Recent examples include the airline trolling a passenger for complaining about check-in rules in February, saying at the time, "Adulting is hard." Oh. Well, if I go on a Ryanair flight for the show, I'm going to be extremely careful.
So looking forward to
what I post on social media, because I don't want to be the butt of all these jokes. But yes, I must say the social media team at Ryanair are a bit. Yes, they're quite good with their content.
On it.
Yes.
Well, Captain Cruz Nev said in the chat room. He says, "I'm 6'5" and I don't even sit like that. This on board Ryanair."
No.
So, well, I don't know. Anyway,
Well,
you've got. I'm going to let you do the next story as well, Nev. Main reason being because, well, it's a BA story, and I just look forward to hearing your take on this story.
I despair when I read about this, and I saw it on Twitter as well. It was just unbelievable. It's on the onemileatatime.com. Headline says, BA passenger angry he wasn't served first. A British Airways premium cabin passenger and elite member recently made headlines after taking to Twitter to express his great displeasure with the airline for serving him second rather than first while seated in the first row of business class. The tweet, which has since been deleted, read, "Wow, British Airways, your standards are seriously slipping. Gold Executive Club members sitting in 1A and 1C on BA 1466, and your staff elected to serve 1F first. No apology, just, oh, he was the closest," which he totally wasn't. "The race to the bottom has broken your brand." I'm not saying anything about this at this stage, obviously. There are claims online that the person seated in seat 1F had higher status than the couple in 1A and 1C, which might actually explain why that passenger was served first. It's worth noting that the passenger's tweet is not an isolated incident. In fact, he made several other complaints during his journey, some of which were even more absurd. For example, he was absolutely furious in the British Airways Concorde room after allegedly witnessing horrific England-centric bias on show. He complained that the lounge was not showing a football match because England might lose, accusing the staff of conspiring against him. He also claimed that the bartender refused to change the TV channel in the bar and that there were no charging ports on the terrace. Then it took the staff 5 minutes to let him into another lounge because he was using an Apple Watch for his boarding pass. And then it took someone 20 minutes to find a remote to change the channel for him. After receiving widespread criticism on Twitter, not surprisingly, the passenger posted an apology claiming he made an angry and alcohol-fueled tweet that was ill-advised and ill-judged. It is a bit of a half-hearted apology, as he apologises for any offence taken and says that he knew what he meant by it. Many of you did not. He acknowledges the privileges he holds, and he says he would have also piled on if he saw someone else making similar tweets. The passenger's complaints have drawn widespread criticism online, with many questioning his sense of entitlement and his behaviour towards the airline staff. Some have even called for him to be banned from flying from British Airways altogether, and the incident highlights the importance of proper etiquette and decorum, especially when dealing with airline staff, and the need to be mindful of one's behaviour in public. It also highlights the need for companies to have clear policies in place for dealing with entitled or abusive customers to ensure that their employees are protected and that their brand image is not tarnished by the actions of a few.
So when you're in your business class section on the 320, Nev, and you've got how many in that section of seats?
Well, there's four. There's in the front row where he's talking about, there's 1A, 1C, 1D, and 1F.
But is there so you've got your status? What are you, gold? Is it gold?
Yes.
Your status, yeah. So you've got your gold status, and then the person sitting across from you in one, D hasn't got gold status, but brought a business class ticket, and they got. Is there a serve and first kind of protocol within? I
don't think there is. No. I think that it's just whatever. If you're left-handed or right-handed, perhaps if you're a cabin crew, sometimes easier to serve people right next to you or by the window on the other side, and it really doesn't matter at the end of the day, does it? It really doesn't matter. And yes, he's a bit of a silly chap, I think we'll say, for going at it the way he did, and then once again doing it on social media, and clearly, from what he says, he's had too much alcohol as well. So, but talking to the crew as I do from time to time, this sort of thing is far too common, and I do not envy the cabin crew at all in these situations. They work extremely long days. I mean, the whole flight deck crew and the cabin crew do. And they're not there to take all that sort of stuff. They are there to help you in an emergency exit the aircraft and keep people, behaving sensibly on the aircraft as well. So, it's another salutary lesson, isn't it? But unfortunately, social media. This is another case for, why it's not good to post stuff on social media sometimes.
No. I mean, I do have an angry tweet every now and again. It's mostly to Highways Agency.
Well, yes, I mean, that's quite justified, in my opinion. I'm presuming you're talking about potholes in the road.
It's potholes in the road. It's mostly about the fact that they just tend to whack up a load of roadworks on some of the biggest network roads in the UK and then just disappear.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to the next story, and this comes from Flight Global, and actually brings back some memories for me. This does, of because I've flown on these guys. This is a crew hurry sighted twin Otter seaplane hits villa during aborted takeoff. A Moldavian investigators believe time pressures contributed to an accident in which a Viking Air DH-6-300 Twin Otter seaplane collided with accommodation structures after aborting a takeoff. The crew of the Trans-Moldavian Airways, or TMA, turboprop, operating a charter flight from Kanfushi Island to Velina Airport, had decided to take off from a lagoon in a northwest direction, despite there being a line of villas ahead. The direction had been chosen after the captain considered that although the wind favoured for a takeoff to the west, he didn't want to depart towards the island. The intention was to turn away to the right after becoming airborne to avoid the 7-metre tall villas, which were around 690 metres in the distance. Investigators state that the crew had the option of other paths for takeoff, including moving further northeast before lining up, which would have ensured clearance. It points out that the pilots had strong concerns about completing the final scheduled flight from Velina to Ragali before the end of the twilight on that day, on the 13th of November 2021, and were aware as well of potential weather-reported delays. The inquiry refers to a hurry-up syndrome and says it contributed to the accident and was highly likely. Analysis shows the takeoff run was longer than expected, and although the aircraft, the registration 8 Quebec Mike Bravo Charlie, became momentarily airborne, it settled back down onto the water 230 metres from the villas. The crew decided to abort the departure but could not move the throttle levers to the reverse position, and momentum made it strike 2 of the water villas and sustain damage to the left wing and right hand propeller and right wingtip. The wooden villas also sustained structural damage, but none of the 15 passengers and crew were injured. Neither flight data nor cockpit voice recorders were installed on the Twin Otter, nor were they required, but certain flight and engine data was captured from the avionics suite. While the air crew was unable to engage reverse after aborting the takeoff, the investigators found no mechanical malfunction in the throttle levers. But the inquiry found the propellers were operating below maximum, indicating the levers were not fully forward. According to a cautionary note, the carrier's operations manual, reverse power cannot be applied unless both propeller levers are in a full forward position. The propeller levers may have moved back during the aircraft bumping on the waves during the takeoff run in the weather, it states. Recommendations from the Maldives Accident Investigation Coordinating Committee say that the regulators should re-examine the criteria for carrying flight recorders on aircraft with more than 9 passengers. This incident has in mind of feathering the props with the ATR 72 that we recently covered in the show, the one that crashed in Nepal, where the flight crew may have accidentally accessed the feathering lever rather than the flaps lever. Now we've got some pictures to pop up on the screen for those of you watching the world of YouTube of said aircraft. There we go. The TMA twin prop Otter there. Sort of like, I mean, for me, if I was in that villa, I wouldn't mind the view, to be fair. That's not a bad view.
I might be finishing my gin and tonic a bit sharpish, though.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I was lucky enough when we had our honeymoon. We flew on a TMA Otter from the Mali airport in Mali across to the island, and it's a hell of an experience, Nev. So good, but it's strange because the throttles are up here above their heads on the aircraft, so you've got to be quite a hell of a pilot to fly that. But I'll never forget looking down and seeing that both the pilots flying the aircraft in bare feet. It's quite a sight, I tell you, Nev. It really is good. So Nev,
they spilt their drinks on their socks.
Well, yeah. To be fair, the amount of mechanical stuff that's in those aircraft, there's not a huge. There's not like a glass cockpit and the rest of it in those. I don't think it'd matter much with all the sea water that kind of sprays in and around there. But there is I tell you what, if I was a pilot and I was like retiring from the airlines, I think that would be an absolutely fantastic job to get flying around those little islands out in the Maldives, because it's just stunning.
Proper flying, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
So Nev, you've got the next story, and this is something that should have happened a long while ago.
Well, this is a real surprise to me, I've got to say. It's on flightglobal.com, and it says the FAA moves to require 25 hours of cockpit voice recording. Well, the FAA in the US has moved to extend the required time frame for cockpit voice recordings to be preserved from 2 hours to 25 hours in response to recent runway incursion incidents. The FAA held a safety summit in Washington, D.C. to discuss additional actions needed to maintain aviation safety. At the event on March the 15th, the NTSB recommended extending the limit to 25 hours, and the FAA is committed to addressing this recommendation. NTSB Chairman Jennifer Homedy praised the move as a win for safety, noting that Europe has mandated the 25-hour rule for a year. The NTSB and FAA are investigating multiple close calls at US airports this year. She said that 6 critical safety incidents this year involving large commercial aircraft have one thing in common: that cockpit voice recorders were all overwritten. Now, back in the day, when it was endless loop tapes in there, bit like you would have as a cartridge machine, for playing radio jingles back in the day. Obviously there was a limited amount of time or tape you could have in there, but it's all digital now, and the cost of electronics is relatively cheap, even with airline specification stuff, and I'm amazed that this hasn't been done years ago, let alone Europe adopting it a year ago. This should have been done a very, very long time ago, because so often when I'm reading AAIB reports or NTSB reports, so often the full story isn't available because the cockpit voice recorder has been overwritten, because it only has a 2-hour limit. I just find it astounding. They go to bother of putting CVRs in there. Why not have them running for a proper amount of time, bearing in mind the electronics and the chipsets are there to do it?
Do you think there'll be a day, Nev, come that they'll have the technology to record this kind of data on a cloud-based system rather than recording onto a box within the aircraft, to just have a system that constantly streams data to a cloud, either through satellite or something, where
if you think about how the engines work, most engine manufacturers have the engines reporting data back to their HQ, whether it's Rolls-Royce or Pratt & Whitney or whoever it is, actually in live data during the flight. Frankly speaking, audio is not high bandwidth stuff. You could put a decent amount of stuff on board the aircraft, and at least you would be able to interrogate it when it got back. As you say, maybe some streaming stuff as well, but it's just astounding it's not there, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know why this hasn't been brought in yet, or have some sort of system in place where this is happening now, where all commercial airliners would have some sort of device on that just streamed the CVR or the FDR data to like I say, an online cloud system that could just be accessed as and when. Because I tell you what, if they would have had that when MH370 went down, it would have probably solved a lot of answered a lot of questions.
Bill mentions that in the chat room. Absolutely, yeah, dead right. No, just things that we all kind of assumed people, had, but they don't. But I'm glad that they're going to, put a stop to it and actually put some proper capacity recording on board.
Micah says in the chat room, he says there are places in the world where there is not connectivity, but that one of the things that does amaze me, Nev, is that you can still go to certain places here in the UK and have absolutely zero phone coverage on any network.
Yes, absolutely. But in terms of the having on board recorders, it's not a difficult thing to do, isn't it? Even with airline specification stuff.
It's the weight, Nev. They don't want that extra 2 kilos.
Well, I'll leave it there. I was going to say something highly controversial, but I won't.
Oh, no. We're not scrapping the caviar in 1A, Nev. Anyway, next story, simple flying, this one. And we've been, I tell you what, we've seen it bounce up and down or bounce around the A380 stories all the time on the show, Nev. One minute they're going, next minute they're being cut up, and the next minute they're back in the air. Lufthansa confirms the A380 will fly to JFK and Boston. Lufthansa announced this week it will resume its regular flight operations with the Super Jumbo Airbus A380 beginning on June the 1st this year, after an interruption of the 3 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The German carrier will deploy the popular 380s on routes to Boston and New York. So beginning on the 1st of June, Lufthansa will resume its regular operations from Munich International to Boston. It will be operated under flight number LH424, the airline said. Additionally, just in time for Independence Day in the US, the 380 with flight number LH410 will start taking off daily, heading for New York's JFK airport. Lufthansa had a fleet of 14 A380s, and the Superjets have been parked and stored for the last 3 years. Lufthansa was storing its 380s in the desert and was close to retiring them for good last year, and 6 were sold during the pandemic. Of the 8 remaining 380s, the German airline has decided to bring them back in time for the summer 2023 season, as demand travel peaks. A total of 4 A380s will be stationed in Munich by the end of the year, and Lufthansa's 380s have the capacity to carry 509 passengers in a 4-class configuration. The aircraft have 8 first-class open suites, 78 business lie-flat seats, 52 premium, and 371 standard economy seats. And by employing the Airbus, the 380, Lufthansa will be able to offer 80% more capacity on the Munich to New York routes compared to the A340-600 currently in use. And Lufthansa has announced that the bookings to travel on board its largest aircraft will be available as of the 23rd of March, which was, what was that, yesterday, wasn't it? The 23rd? Yeah, no, yesterday.
Yeah.
So at least you can say now, Nev, that you have actually travelled on the 380.
Yes. And I'm glad that Lufthansa are going to use it as well, especially on the North Atlantic route. That's good to hear. Yeah, I think that there's, from the people that I speak to, they have said it is a popular aircraft. People like flying it, and even in the the economy, the standard economy and the premium economy seats, people are saying what a pleasant aircraft it is. So let's hope they can get the load factors, because you can't operate an A380 half empty anyhow.
No. You think BA are going to keep theirs for the considerable considerable?
Oh,
future?
I think, yeah, I think now though, because they've got all 12 of them back, so I think they're going to make the most of it, employing them on those, potential high density routes. I mean, I was surprised that our A380 going to Dallas was almost full. Certainly, judging by the takeoff roll, it would appear to be. So that was really encouraging. But I just hope that those routes, like the JFKs, the Bostons, perhaps the Washington routes as well, will also be operated by these aircraft. But no, I really do hope that they go on for a long time, and that the manufacturers continue to make the spares available and affordable, unlike another aircraft which is no longer flying.
Yes.
But let's not go there.
I'll tell you what is on my bucket list, Nev, of my to-do list. I want to do before they disappear, which I don't think they will soon, but I really want to try the Dash 8, the 747.
Yes.
Because Lufthansa have got those, and I think that is probably our only option in this neck of the woods in the world to fly the Dash 8, because I think they're the only one, they're the only airline our side of the world which fly the Dash 8 as a passenger aircraft, aren't they?
Yes, of course, the last 747 we went on ever was the flight back from Dubai, wasn't it?
Yeah, on the Dash 400.
On Dash 400, yeah.
I just want to see how good the Dash 8 is, if it is, because they say it's a lot quieter, and it would be interesting, because we've got that comparison now, because we've both flown on the Dash 400, to see what the Dash 8 is like. Yeah. So, from a chatting about 747s, Nev, if you want to take the next one over on skynews.com, this is rather worrying news.
Well, yeah, the headline is Virgin Orbit plans for insolvency amid rescue talks with investors. Well, as you probably know, Virgin Orbit, which is a commercial satellite venture founded by Sir Richard Branson's Virgin Group, has begun making contingency plans for insolvency due to its poor finances. The company is working with 2 restructuring firms to prepare fallback plans in case it cannot secure new funding. Virgin Orbit's shares have plummeted in value following the failure of its inaugural British mission in January. Despite continuing talks with a small number of prospective investors about funding, the company is in a liquidity crisis. It's understood to be aiming to secure additional capital during the course of this week. Virgin Orbit has made 4 successful missions, launching 33 satellites to their desired orbit. The company was established in 2017 with a focus on operating launch missions for small commercial satellites from an adapted Virgin Atlantic Boeing 747 aircraft. The company is 75% owned by Sir Richard's holding company, and its shares are listed on the Nasdaq exchange in New York. It went public by way of a merger with a special purpose acquisition company in the $3.7 billion deal in 2021. However, now its listed shares are valued at just $217 million. Dan Hart, who's a former Boeing executive and now the chief executive of Virgin Orbit, has been hoping to launch a further mission in the coming weeks, but that prospect is remote unless the company can secure new capital. Despite the company's financial difficulties, Virgin Orbit is confident it is taking decisive action to protect employees and assets whilst it evaluates alternative options. Oh dear. Well, space is difficult, isn't it? I think people would have to say that. And the trouble is that the risk of failure is on this sort of stuff. It is always there, isn't it? And of course, it's. I wouldn't like to be the insurance company, would you? I wonder what the premiums are like for these sorts of missions. But it's not just that. Obviously, it's the people that work there, and the months and years that have gone into the preparation of launching these things and constructing the satellites that go into them as well.
When you look at all the hype, Nev, on the TV when they were, when they obviously had that failed attempt a few months back, all the hype and everything and all the excitement and stuff, and now you read this.
I know, absolutely horrific. All we can wish for is that they get some success from it, because also it really put Newquay Airport on the map as well. So, but Yeah, it's I don't know. Well, fingers crossed. I hope that some good comes out of this, and they can find new investors and a new commercial situation at least.
Yeah. Well, next story comes to us from aviationweek.com. And well, I think they're getting desperate, Nev. Russia allocates $4 billion to buy Western jets from some leasers. The Russian government has allocated around $4 billion to help local airlines buy Western-made commercial aircraft leased from foreign companies. Western sanctions against Russia caused leasers to terminate leasing agreements with Russian customers, so Russia blocked its airlines from returning leased aircraft and instead re-registered them locally. Aeroflot has used some of the government's money to acquire 10 777-300ER wide-bodies and 8 leased A330 wide-bodies, according to Transport Minister Vitaly Saliev. Almost half of the Russian commercial fleet, 595 aircraft out of 1,297, is still owned by foreign leasers. The average age of the Russian-operated Western-made fleet now stands at 15 years old. A bit different to their own aircraft, eh, Nev? Their Russian aircraft. Most of the Western aircraft operating in Russia today have double registrations, which prevents them from flying on most international services. Gaining ownership would allow them to allow the Russian carriers to legally delist the aircraft from foreign registries, and the funds are expected to be borrowed from the National Wealth Fund. So,
well, this was.
I knew they'd find a way around it some way, Nev.
This was always going to be the thing, wasn't it? With Airbus and Boeing not being able to supply parts and maintenance here. So, yeah. Well, this is going to go on, isn't it, for some time. It's all very well buying the aircraft or leasing the aircraft, but this stuff doesn't run itself.
Yeah, you've got to maintain these things,
and it needs the manufacturer's support, doesn't it?
And parts,
or third-party support and parts, and yeah.
Yeah, they're going to end up digging out some of the old Tu-134s, Nev, from the boneyards over there.
You never know, do you? Oh, the old Smoky Joes, yes.
The Smokies, yeah, or the Illusion 76. Oh, blimey, the Illusions. Yes. Anyway,
you went on a Tu-134.
I did. That was
your first trips.
One of my very first trips on a commercial airline. I was on board a Tu-134A with an airline called Aviogenics, flying from Gatwick to Yugoslavia.
Oh my word!
Yeah, that was quite a few years ago, Nev. I still have very, very many fond memories of that flight.
Well, I'm glad you're here to tell the tale. That's the main thing,
Yes, blimey, I still can't. Do you know what, Nev? It still had, because they were obviously converted from ex, surveillance bomber military kind of stuff. Had the glass windows in the nose cone, where the bomber used to sit in there. Yeah, that was like that. But that's trying to think how old I must have been then. I'd probably have been less than 10 years old, Nev. Yeah, would have been, less than 10. Anyway, Nev, you have got the next story from Airliner Watch, all about Delta.
Yes, I don't know. Actually, is Armando got some audio with this?
I have none loaded in the system, Nev.
In that case, then I shall read it verbatim. As Carlos says, airlinerwatch.com. Delta Airlines has teamed up with Skyborne, a UK-based flight training academy, to establish a pilot training program aimed at producing qualified commercial pilots. The program, which was set to commence in 2022, will offer students access to Delta's pilot career path program, which guarantees employment opportunities following the successful completing of the training. The program will be based at Skyborne's training facility in Vero Beach, Florida, and is designed to equip aspiring pilots with the necessary knowledge and expertise to become proficient commercial pilots. Program which will provide aspiring pilots with the chance to apply for financial support of up to $20,000, aimed at attracting a more diverse set of candidates. However, the financial support will cover only a portion of the overall cost of obtaining the necessary pilot certificates. After completing the flight training, successful candidates will be employed by Skyborne, where they will accrue 1,500 hours of flight time, a requirement for commercial pilots in the US. Once they have met the flight time requirements, the candidates will be eligible to apply for first officer positions at one of Delta's regional carrier partners. The program aims to equip individuals with the skills and experience needed to become successful commercial pilots, whilst also fostering a diverse and inclusive workforce. In 2021, the UK-headquartered Skyborne Airline Academy opened its first US-based flight training centre in Florida.
Why don't we have this here, Nev?
I know. Mad, isn't it?
Honestly. With all the young people now here in the UK, and I know at least two myself who would love to sort of try something like this, but don't have the funds to go into flight training, all the rest of it and stuff. You know, why don't we have that in the UK?
These are questions that I have no answer to, mate, I'm afraid.
You guys over in the US, you have all the best stuff. Just saying.
Yeah.
Including the weather.
Well.
But yeah, I mean, what we need, Nev, is like Ryanair or EasyJet or even BA. Didn't BA do some kind of? I'm sure BA done a lot of training.
Well, yes,
years ago, back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, but I think long gone are the days of airline sponsored training programs.
I'll tell you who did, Nev. Jet2.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, Jet2 done like a sponsored kind of training thing to fly the 737s, the Dash 800s that they've got. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Jet2 did.
Yeah.
But, and I think you were tied to the airline for 4 or 5 years, I think. You know,
yes.
So, yeah. Anyway, next story. And airlinerwatch.com, this comes from Wiz Air, set to expand fleet and targets growth in the Middle East. Wiz Air president Robert Carey revealed plans this week for the European budget carrier to grow its fleet to more than 200 aircraft in the coming year and 500 by 2030. Carey also highlighted the potential for growth in the Middle East, while noting that the airline is content with its current presence in the Western market. Wiz Air aims to become the first and the only ultra low-cost carrier to serve in the Middle East, and the company is likewise preparing to expand its service in Abu Dhabi this summer, as well as double the number of its routes it operates into Saudi Arabia from 12 to 24. The European operator has recently announced plans to increase the number of flights to multiple European destinations from Budapest, such as Barcelona, Napoli, Bari, Rome, Berlin and Dubai. And this year, Wiz Air anticipates 43 million passengers from Budapest. Initially, Wiz Air's primary operations were based in Central and Eastern Europe, but the airline now holds an air operator certificate in the UK besides Hungary. Yeah, I saw this actually news story. I'm intrigued to find out, Nev, how much Wiz are charging for their flights to the Middle East.
They're certainly becoming a very successful operation, aren't they?
Although they had a bit of a grilling, didn't they, in a recent poll, customer service poll, I think Wiz did, didn't they?
I think there is some inevitability, isn't there? Well, a bit like Ryanair back in the day, when they're operating so many sectors with very full aircraft, which is obviously great. They have to do that for the commercial viability of the whole thing. But, there's going to be things that go wrong from time to time, and good old social media will be out there, they're doing the usual business. But no, I mean, they're certainly, it's worked out very well for them, isn't it? And it's great to see that there's more routes and more operations. Brilliant.
Now, Nev, we were talking about this earlier, weren't we, when we started the show, about incidents we hadn't heard of any incidents that have happened. But Nev, you've got a story here from the nypost.com about another incident.
Yes. Well, excuse the slightly bombastic language that's used in this article. It's a bit full on, but let's see how we get on with it anyway. It's from the New York Post, as you say, Carlos. And, it says a Southwest Airlines jet came within 200 feet of slamming into an ambulance crossing the runway as it took off at Baltimore's airport. One in a series of terrifyingly close calls across the US. The Aircraft Rescue and Firefighting, or ARF, vehicle crossed runway 15 right at Baltimore Washington International Thurgood Marshall Airport without authorization on January the 12th. The Southwest Boeing 737 had just been cleared for takeoff from the same runway and missed the ambulance by less than half the length of a football field, the outlet reported. The closest estimated horizontal separation occurred at a distance of 173 feet, the FAA said in new analysis of the harrowing incident. The aft driver was told to hold short of the runway, but read back the instruction as ARF 439 crossing runway 10 and 15 right. The controller did not catch the readback error, according to the FAA. Newly released recordings captured the alarmed controller informing the aft driver of his mistake. ARF 439, you were supposed to hold short of runway 15 right, the controller said. By that time, the vehicle had crossed the runway and was on an adjacent taxiway as the plane continued its takeoff roll and departed. An airport spokesman confirmed that the vehicle crossed the runway without air traffic control authorization. The air traffic controller instructed the ARF vehicle to hold short of the runway, and the rep told DC News Now in a statement. The airport fully cooperated and shared information with the FAA regarding the incident. Based on the review of the incident, new procedures were immediately implemented to help ensure safety and to prevent a similar incident in the future. Safety and security remain the highest priorities for BWI Marshall Airport, the spokesperson added. An airline spokesman said in a statement that Southwest adheres to air traffic control directions at all times, and our crew did in this scenario too. The FAA has 4 levels of severity for runway incursions, A, B, C and D, based on the level of severity. Well, the incident at BWI was ranked as a Category B. The ambulance driver mistakenly read back that he was cleared to cross both runways. The controller didn't catch the error, according to the FAA. Category B is an incident in which separation decreases and there's a significant potential for collision, which may result in a time-critical corrective or evasive response to avoid a collision, according to the FAA. The close call came to light after the FAA held an emergency summit last week in McLean, Virginia, to address a series of recent safety incidents and near misses. There have been at least 7 other close calls nationwide since December. There is no question that aviation is amazingly safe, but vigilance can never take the day off, says acting FAA Administrator Billy Nolan in a statement after the meeting. We must ask ourselves difficult and sometimes uncomfortable questions, even when we are confident that the system is sound, he said. Carlos, what do you think about that?
Well, we've, like I said at the start of the show, we've been seeing these things be reported quite a lot in the past few months. We've been talking about them on the show for quite some time now. But you have to ask, right, we've been doing this for a number of years now. Well, a few years, haven't we, Nev? Been doing this for a few years. And all of a sudden, as I said, in the last few months, we're getting constant reports of these things happening, over in the US. Do you think they're happening regularly anyway, but a lot of them don't get reported? Or do you think that things are there is an issue and that these are happening now more than they ever used to before?
It's difficult to say, isn't it? Because we don't know. We don't have all the information. All I would say, though, and I'm sure I'm going to get shot down in flames for this, everybody needs to slow it down. The transmissions, the receptions, all of it are with ATC. this is how mistakes are made. And you just got to listen to some of the YouTube clips of some of the controllers and some of the pilots. Now, they're all very professional, and they're doing a great job. But honestly, why not just slow it down a little bit, especially if the aircraft involved is not a US carrier, especially where English is not their first language. But even if it is, still slow it down a bit, just a little bit, and that might make the difference. Now, I'm not an expert in human factors or anything like that, but it just strikes me that there is the potential for confusion, misunderstanding, and talking over each other, where you've got two mics keyed up at once and a clearance or a readback is missed.
You've probably done it as many times as I have, Nev, but we've all got the access to liveatc.net, and if anyone has ever either on your web browser, you can also, I think you can actually get an app as well on your smartphone. You can listen to liveatc. You can actually listen to like Boston and JFK, and you can listen to the approach and the tower frequencies on there. And sometimes you listen to them, and I listen to them quite a bit, especially if I'm stalking Armando. Obviously, when I'm tracking Armando and listening to hear his voice over the airwaves. But some of the controllers, they are like what we would call like the guys on the rostrums, Nev, at the auction houses, with and I think, I'm struggling to keep up here, and they are literally breaking from one transmission to another, boom, 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 all the time. And then you get the contrast with some of the airports over in the US where you can listen to them on Live ATC as well, and they're as laid back as you can possibly get, loads of time.
Yeah, I'm not for one moment suggesting that I would be able to tell any pilot or any air traffic controller the best way of doing RT, but I just think slowing it down a little bit might help.
Slow it down.
Now, as we've been talking, we've been joined by another guest presenter.
Oh,
you might have seen him on the show previously. And he's been helping us with stories and doing a lot of research for us as well.
Our latest member of the team.
And he's back on the show again.
Hi, Nick.
Hello.
Evening, everybody. How are you?
All good.
Yeah.
All good,
Hear me okay?
We are good. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Happy to be along. And it's been a busy old week, and we've had a good crop of stories this week, I think.
Yeah, we're not short of material, that's for sure. What do you think about these runway incursions that we've been hearing about over the last few weeks and months?
Well, I have to wonder whether some of what we're hearing it's because they've been happening, we've maybe been hearing about others that perhaps we might not have heard about. So, for example, the incident with the ambulance, it was... Yeah, I mean, yes, it was somewhere it shouldn't have been. In reality, it was quite a long way from the aircraft. Obviously, we would like for the incident not to have occurred at all. But yeah, we do have to wonder whether we are hearing about more of these than we might have otherwise done. That said, clearly there have been some really serious high-profile events that have occurred.
You notice how we don't seem to have a stack of these kind of stories come from UK. I know before everyone jumps on on my back here, I know the airports here in the UK, even Heathrow, are not as busy as some of the airports in the US. But Heathrow is a blooming busy airport. We can all agree there. If you've ever stood near the Renaissance Hotel where we had our 300th all those years ago, when you look up at the sky, you've got a constant line of aircraft that are coming in to approach onto the runway at Heathrow. But we don't. How many stories have we covered about of these kind of things from UK airports? We haven't, have we?
No, but as you say, it is a very different operation. We've got two parallel runways, and they are well occupied. Don't get me wrong, but in the US, you've got 4, 5, 6, 7 runways. Sometimes different controllers controlling different parts of the airport and unfamiliar people with the airport as well. But I think a lot of crews now talk about threat and error management on the flight deck. And I wonder whether the ATCers do that as well. I'm sure they do, but it'd be interesting to hear about what their take on it. If only we knew a good ATCer, Carlos. I wonder if we could speak to one.
Do we know an ATC guy?
Let's see what we can do.
That's what we can do. Yeah. So, time to move on to the next part of the show, and it's caption this time.
Yes.
I'll look at the a funny picture that we post on our Facebook page on a Wednesday, and we try and pick an aviation-related picture. We pop it up on our Facebook page and leave you guys and girls to comment. Leave your wittiest comment on there. I'm going to pop the picture up for those of you watching in the world of YouTube. And Nev, if you wouldn't mind, just a brief description of what's going on here.
Well, yes, clearly there is a queue for door 1L, I would imagine. There's no aircraft. So there's about, 40 people on that set of stairs leading up to the aircraft, but no aircraft. But they're all keen to board something. Whatever.
So we had some comments, didn't we, Nev, in the world of Facebook this week. It's quite a popular
it was
picture this week, I will say. I'm going to kick off with this beautiful young lady here who's commented here. A young lady by the name of Sue Bounds. She's you know her, Nev?
No idea.
Okay. She has said the original Stairway to Heaven. She said.
Oh, very good. Very good. Neil Draper, a good friend of the programme. PTUK launch new stealth bomber passenger flights. Like it.
We've got Nicholas Codling. I don't know who that chap is. Captain Jeff, the chief pilot wants to talk to you about your taxiing speeds.
Yes. What else we got here? Yes, Stephen says low-cost carrier. These are the guys that missed the add-on option for the plane. This is the queue to beat Nev to 1 Alpha.
This one from John. This is one of my favourites from John because I'm a Trek fan, Star Trek fan. He says Captain Jean-Luc Picard informs the ground handlers and the tower that they are unable to turn off the cloaking device.
Yes, like it. Bill says Ryanair tries more rapid boarding processes.
And Sturman, one of our regular chat room members, Sturman, he's put first one on board gets 1A, and he's took a little pic. He's screen grabbed that picture, and he's put a little an arrow with Nev for the first person at the top of those stairs. Nev, that's very good.
And finally, Mike Williams says Ryanair keeps going to increasingly more extreme measures to turn flights around more quickly. Actually,
I'm going to quickly put this one in as well from Biff, Michael Biff, who's this is quite good, Nev. After 3 months, some Southwest passengers had started to wonder if the IT problems really had been sorted.
Oh.
Very good, very good.
Well, they're not the only airline with IT problems, are they? That's for sure.
Very good, guys and girls. I'm going to just have a look in the chat room quickly, see if there's any ones in the chat room we've got here. Rich Adams says Led Zeppelin fans arrived early for their road trip. Captain Cruz, first flight of Vanish Air. It's entirely booked out. Mazouz comes up with a classic song. Actually, we're on a road to nowhere. Like that one. What's that one from Mark? Can you say that one from Mark Priestley? There in the chat room.
Yes, he says your last chance to get into the UK from France. Oh dear,
slightly controversial.
Naughty, very naughty.
Oh my word, thank you for all those comments in the chat room and also our comments on social media this week. Thanks to everyone. Don't forget, if you want to be in with a chance of having your witty comment read out on the show, give our socials a look on Facebook on a Wednesday when I'll be popping up a little picture of, a picture of some aviation fun. But, yes, so we have got some military news this week, haven't we, as well?
Should we get Nick to give us a hand with some of this, do you think? Would you like to do that, Nick?
Yes, absolutely. Happy to do that.
Excellent.
Right. So if everyone is ready to do some military news,
yeah,
let's do it.
Lost up bogeys 135, 50, Angel 16, heading 340. Okay. Undersea bogeys.
Right, I shall jump on with the first one then. We've got a story from, let me just get my camera back in there, we go, that's back in shot. Story from the aviationist.com, and the A10 demo team introduces a new pilot and paint scheme for the 2023 air show season. Hopefully they'll get these at Jersey, Nev. The annual Heritage Flight Training course at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base drew to a close last week, and the US Air Force's A10C Thunderbolt 2 demonstration team announced the new commander and pilot for the 2023 air show season. Captain Lindsay Mad Johnson took the reins of the team for Major Hayden Gate at Fulham, who led it for the 2021-2022 airshow season. Captain Johnson is also the third female Air Force demonstration pilot this year, following Captain Amy Rebel Fielder of the F-16 Viper demo team. I've seen those guys. The Viper demo team are awesome. And the Thunderbirds number 4, Major Lauren Schittling. Before being named the team commander, Captain Johnson was an instructor pilot and flight commander assigned to the 357th Fighter Squadron at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Arizona, and previously served in Texas and Korea. As a veteran instructor, she has amassed over 1,250 flight hours, including 431 combat flight hours in support of both Operation and Freedom and Sentinel and the Resolute support mission. I'm going to pop a picture on the screen there for those of you watching in the world of YouTube. There we go. After speaking about tributes to the past and one of the 3 A10s assigned to the demonstration team, which received a new heritage paint scheme, as the team explained on a Facebook post, in an effort to pay homage to the work of the B-17F Memphis Belle they did during World War II. The 355th Tactical Fighter Wing nicknamed one of their F-105s the Memphis Belle II. The Memphis Belle II was assigned to the 357th Tactical Fighter Squadron and is credited with 2 air-to-air kills back in 1967. Since the team's aircraft are assigned to the 357th Fighter Squadron, it was decided to nickname the tail number 78-0651, or Memphis Belle 3. As the Memphis Belle 2, the A-10 has been painted in the Vietnam-era Southeast Asia camouflage, and those of you watching on there will see the A-10. I remember these guys when they were based over here in the UK, RAF Bentwaters back in the day, which is a base local to us, or local to me here, Nev, where they had the A-10s based, and remember attending many family family day, air day at Bentwaters, and seeing the A-10s parked up. You could go up and poke them and prod them and everything. No one cared back then.
Nice.
So Nev, do you want to take the next one?
I was going to say with Nick, might like to have a go at this next one, perhaps.
Go on, Nick.
Sure thing. Okay, so this one's from popularmechanics.com. The US Air Force may be ditching its aging U-2 spy plane in favour of a mysterious drone. Ooh, I'm not sure we like the idea of that. So the U-2 is heading for retirement by 2026 due to budget concerns, according to a new report. While no replacement for the iconic U-2 Dragon Lady has officially been named, one likely candidate is the classified Northrop Grumman RQ-180 stealth drone, about which little is known. The Air Force recently released its latest budget proposal, which includes plans to cut 310 aircraft, but notably does not mention the U-2. However, Aviation Week reported that the Dragon Lady is on the way out due to cost considerations. The service also plans to get rid of the remaining RQ-4 Global Hawk drones. The RQ-180 reportedly looks similar to the flying wing shape of the B-2 stealth bomber, which Northrop Grumman also built. The 172-foot long drone is supposedly fully operational at Beale Air Force Base in Northern California. The Air Force currently has 27 U-2 frames, even though they're showing their age. The US first developed the reconnaissance aircraft in the 1950s, and it's capable of flying at extremely high altitudes up to 70,000 feet, which allows it to gather intelligence without being detected by ground-based radar. The U-2 has undergone several upgrades and modernizations over the years, including the installation of new avionics like digital displays and improved radar, which have made the aircraft more reliable and easier to operate. It's also gotten upgraded sensors, including electro-optical and infrared sensors, which have improved the aircraft's ability to collect intelligence. So yeah, I mean, you have to wonder with the running costs of an aircraft like the U-2. It's sort of easy to see why it could get replaced
by a drone.
Yeah, it's not a popular decision, is it? Let's be honest.
No, we need to ask Jonathan Warner that. I'm sure he'd give us a reply to that. Is he in the chat room? Is he in the chat room tonight? I can't see him in there.
I haven't seen him so far.
No. So
I did watch it was an interesting YouTube video actually about the B-2, which I mean it's somewhat related, and it was talking about what the hourly cost was of operating one of those aircraft. I can't remember what the figure was, but it was absolutely astronomical. So you have to imagine that the U-2 is probably not too far behind it. So you can certainly see why there could be some drive to cut costs, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh.
Nev, do you want me to take number 4? Do you want me to take number 4? Yeah.
Yeah.
Aviationist.com for this one. And Slovakia has approved the transfer of 13 MiG-29s to the Ukraine. They must be happy. They're going to finally get some decent aircraft. The ex-Slovak Air Force MiG-29 should be delivered in the next few weeks. Slovak Prime Minister Edward Heger announced on March, I say that after a few whiskies, announced on March the 17th that the government of Slovakia has approved the transfer of 13 MiG-29 fighters to the Ukraine. The combat aircraft will be transferred within the next few weeks as part of a military aid provided by Slovakia to the Ukraine to defend itself and the entire Europe against Russia. Ukraine has been asking for fighter jets to repel the Russian forces since the beginning of the war last year, and on March the 16th, the Polish President Andrzej Duda confirmed that the first 4 Polish Air Force MiG-29s are going to be transferred to Ukraine within 4 to 6 weeks. Slovakia has now joined Poland, becoming the first 2 countries to officially commit to delivering Soviet-era MiG-29 Fulcrum combat aircraft to Kiev. The donation of the MiGs to the Ukraine, and that's the word there, isn't it? Donate them, because that's they have to be correct. They can't be sold or anything like that. The Ukraine is a matter that has been long in the works. In April 2022, Slovak Prime Minister Edward Heger said his country could send MiG-29 jets to Ukraine, but didn't elaborate. Later, in early July, he said Slovakia could send its MiG-29 fighter jets and tanks to Ukraine, but again, the transfer did not occur. On February the 9th this year, he promised that the Slovak authorities would do everything possible to hand over fighter jets to Ukraine. In the end, he kept his promise. It's not clear how long it will take to make those aircraft airworthy again, and whether any modification will be needed and to induct them into service with the Ukrainian Air Force. However, what's certain is that the Ukraine pilots will need no additional training to fly these fighters. And considering the Fulcrums are already being used by the Ukrainian Air Force in various roles, including the SEAD, or Suppression of Enemy Air Defences. And thanks to the integration of the AGM-88 HARM, or the High Speed Anti-Radiation Missile, as well. And Yeah, in the latest development of this, actually, the Ukraine situation report, of the Polish MiG-29 Fulcrum jets being delivered to the Ukraine, the Polish president has confirmed that the first 4 examples will be handed over to Kiev within the next few days. More MiGs will be transferred to Ukraine after that, and Polish President Andrzej Duda said that adding to the rest are going to be prepared for service, according to a report, the CNN. They said the number of MiGs, or total number of MiGs to be transferred, is between 11 and 19. The loss of a significant portion of the Polish MiG-29 fleet would not necessarily seriously impact the overall capabilities, and especially with South Korean-made FA-50 Fighting Eagle light combat aircraft due to arrive in Poland this summer. Looking further ahead, a more direct replacement for the MiG-29 will join the Polish Air Force in the shape of the F-35A stealth fighter. So, we're obviously not going to give them any of ours. That's obviously not going to happen, is it?
It's going to go on for a while, this, isn't it? Right. So, anyway, yes, just over on the warbirdsnews.com aviation site, this is quite an interesting story, I thought. It says that it's Newark Air Museum's Golden Jubilee event, not Newark in the US, but the other one. On the 14th of April this year, the Newark Air Museum, NAM, in Nottinghamshire in the UK, will have been officially open to the public for 50 years. To celebrate this Golden Jubilee anniversary, NAM is hosting a special 2-day event on the weekend of the 15th and 16th of April at its site in eastern Nottinghamshire. Various themes will be marked during the event to recognise both NAM's past achievements and also with an eye to the future developments and associations. One particular aim is to try and get as many people as possible to attend these celebrations, who were at the official opening back in 1973. NAM already has a number of people amongst its membership who fit that profile, but the museum trustees are keen to make contact with any members of the public who were there in 73. Well, the official opening in that year was marked with the release of a special first day cover, copies of which were flown across the local area in various aircraft. If anyone attends the Golden Jubilee event with an original first day cover, they will be allowed free admission to the museum celebrations. Well, looking to the future, the event will be the first time that NAM has hosted a display from the Air and Space Institute in Newark, who will be present on both days and who are creating exciting opportunities within aviation. Final preparations for the event are still being refined, but NAM volunteers will have lots of open cockpits available for visitors to look at, along with visiting displays and some possible celebrity appearances. I've not been asked to attend yet. Plus, an outdoor aeroboot aviation cell will be running on both days. It'll be a good opportunity to grab some aviation bargains. Now, Carlos, I think you need to read this next story because it's all about Malta.
Oh, Nev, you caught me in here. I've got to pop the camera on there. There we go. Yeah, this is all about the museum over in Malta. And for those of you who haven't been over to this museum over in Malta at Takali Airfield, it is honestly, it is such a good museum. Really, really well put together. Loads of great exhibits on display there. But this comes from warbirdsnews.com. It's about the Messerschmitt Bf 109. I'm going to put the picture on the screen for those of you who are watching in the world of YouTube. There we go. Pop the picture on the screen there. And the island of Malta suffered terribly during the first 3 years of World War II, its people withstanding a most impenetrable maritime blockade and near constant aerial attack from Axis forces trying to pulverise their spirit into submission. But with the help of allies, the nation endured. Even so, that constant enemy onslaught left the island littered with many military debris of both Axis and Allied origin. There was little time during the war to dispose of the wreckage in an orderly fashion, so much of it was simply pushed into convenient holes or even bomb craters and covered up. 8 decades on, some of the war bits of scrap is still resurfacing, and has happened this has happened recently with the discovery in late February this year of the substantial remains of a Messerschmitt Bf 109. Its battered port wing and fuselage preserved so well that much of the Luftwaffe's fighters' original paintwork still survives. An excavation crew discovered the treasure trove of aircraft parts as they prepared some land at a residence in St Vincent de Paul for construction project. The Malta Aviation Museum received a call and gained official permission to recover the remains, which they did with great success. The aft fuselage and much of the port wing were in most substantial elements collected. Amazingly, the museum has been able to discover the aircraft's actual identity, or work number, painted recognisably at the wing root bulkhead. It reads simply as WNR 8668. The Malta Aviation Museum is well known for its fine collection of aircraft, some of which are airworthy. In correspondence with the museum, one of their key personnel, David Polidano, met him, he's a very nice chap he is, informed us that the wreck is in such good condition that they have chosen to conserve and preserve it for display more or less as it is, rather than to perform any restorative work to the aircraft. To the author's mind, this seems the most sensible path to follow, given that anything more radical could essentially erase the details which make the wreck such a compelling artefact. Now, I'm going to pop that on the screen again quickly there for you to see. But why can't I find one of these in my back garden?
Gosh, look at that.
Just, you know.
I reckon they'll have that flying by the end of the year.
You'd be surprised, Nick.
I've MOT'd worse.
They've got a really good collection of aircraft there. They've also got a little is it the Cessna? Cessna. What's the little tiny little Cessna? Oh, I try to think the name of it now. Me and Nev saw it at the air show a few years back. You know, the one that barely looks like it's moving through the sky. It's it flies at about 10 knots or something ridiculous like that.
Our chat room will help us with that in just a second. Yes.
It was used as like a reconnaissance aircraft. Cessna something. Bird Dog. That's the one. Bird Dog. That's the one. Yeah, they've got one of those there that's actually flying. And they've also got a DC-3 in the hangar there as well. Mustang, Spitfire. They've got quite an array of stuff there. And the museum is really cheap to get into as well. Really cheap to get into. So well worth a visit. If you are going on holiday this year to what I'd like to call my second home of Malta, it is well worth a look. Any notable museums, Nev, on your travels around either the UK or Europe that you've been to where you've thought that's good?
Yes, there have been, but I just don't get a chance to go and see them. That's the problem, because there's just not enough time. There's certainly a couple of aviation museums in Sweden that I'd like to go back to that I have visited previously, but yeah, there's just never enough time to do this stuff. So for me to make an extra day available and take a day off in order to see some of this, but no, there's still some fascinating stuff around, I must say. But maybe I should go to the Malta Aviation Museum. Maybe I should take a Ryanair flight. Maybe that should be my flight. Although that's a bit long. That's a bit long, isn't it?
3 hours. It's only 3 hours.
Yeah, I think perhaps Luton to Edinburgh, maybe instead. 55 minutes.
Should we just give Ryanair a call and just say, can you just do a high-speed taxi run from one end of the runway to the other and then taxi back?
That'd be enough.
Just for them. What about you, Nick? Any museums that you've been to, either in the UK or somewhere else, that you've thought, this is top notch?
Well, the closest one for me is Yeovilton. So that's about an hour up the road from me. That's well worth a visit if you're in the southwest. Quite a bit of helicopter stuff there because it's not far from Yeovil, which of course is the home of Leonardo, formerly Westlands. But it's also so they do a lot of training for carrier landings there, and they actually tie up with Henstridge Airfield, which is not that far away, where they also do practice carrier landings, and they've actually got or I think used to have the capability to have an arrestor wire there. But yeah, so there's some good stuff there. They do have a big air show there once a year, which I would like to try and get to at some point.
Perhaps we need to ask our PTUK family, all the listeners, if there's a particular museum that you've been to, that you've attended, and it is, top-notch stuff. You need to tell everyone to go there. Send us an email. Let us know. Details on our email address at the end of the show. But yeah, send us an email and let us know where it is. And we'll have a little chat about it on the show. We're lucky, as Nev will know, that we've got quite a substantial museum. Literally it's literally just over there, barely 1 mile that way. With lots of static aircraft outside the Flixton Aviation Museum, which, bizarrely enough, believe it or not, guys and girls, is absolutely free to get into. Doesn't cost a penny. And they've got tons of static aircraft on display there. But it's worth looking up. Flixton Aviation Museum, if you've got the old Googles on, open there on your web browser, it's worth a look. They've got some great stuff on display there. But perhaps, Nev, what we should do for your inaugural Ryanair flight is we should pick an aviation museum somewhere in Europe, and we'll just book a flight and go.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Sounds good.
Yep, happy with that.
We'll document the whole trip as an NPE. We'll do a whole NPE segment from the airport through to the boarding process and the whole flight. Especially
this is Ryanair, is it?
Right, it'll be Ryanair, Nev. Oh yes, yeah.
What have you let yourself in for? So now that this is happening, and obviously Matt's doing his skydive, we're really lining them up now, aren't we?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'd almost forgotten about that. I'm sure he hasn't.
No, we'll do some research on that. We'll have a good think. If like I said, if you listeners have got any ideas of a good museum in Europe that's accessible via a Ryanair flight, that we can go and one of those 1999 flights. So Nev will literally just be able to carry his glasses case, and that's it with him. We'll have to think about that. We'll do it.
I wonder if those 1999 flights still exist. I've not really done any research recently on that, but
do you know what? You should do some research, Nev, because when you see these offers on the you get the emails come through on your email thing, and you see them on telly, and you see the flights $29.99 and stuff.
Yeah,
you try and find one.
Yes.
So, Nick, as you're here, you've not got the show notes open in front of you, have you, at all?
I have got them.
Oh, you have got them. Nick, while you're here, I think you should do the social media links to the show. Where can people find out about us, and where can they see us?
Right, so
drop them in.
We've got as Carlos and Nev were mentioning, I've been sort of doing a bit of background work for the show and just helping with editing some of the stories and stuff. So if anybody does have any stories that they want to send in, they can send them to podcast@planetalkinguk.com. You can, in fact, even send them directly to me, although I haven't got my email quite set up yet, but that's Nick, N-I-K, at planetalkinguk.com. The website, of course, is planetalkinguk.com. Social medias, so I guess Facebook is facebook.com/planetalkinguk, I think. And then, of course, we have the WhatsApp number, +44 757 22 49166. Did I get everything? youtube.com/planetalkinguk. I think that's all of them.
Yeah. And don't forget as well, on the website, you've got the shop on there where you can treat yourself to one of our glorious grey mugs, which I think hopefully the one that we posted out last week has reached its owner, hopefully. There's also the T-shirts in there as well, which actually, Nick, we've got your T-shirt and your shirt on order. Don't panic; it'll be with you soon, hopefully.
Looking forward to it.
So yeah, get yourselves over there to the social medias, and also don't forget as well, the links are on the website to become a patron of the show, or if you want to make a small donation to the show you can via the links on our website. All helps to push the show along. And just as a note, in case you haven't got access to Facebook, or you haven't seen the info that we put on our page, just to let you know, we are going to be attending this year the Cosford Air Show. Is going to be our first time at the Cosford Air Show. Me, Matt and Nev are going to be there, and hopefully Nick, if you can join us as well, that'd be good to see you there. We'll be there at the Cosford Air Show on the 11th of June this year. As I said, it's our first visit there. We've not been to the Cosford Air Show before. It's quite a big air show here in the UK at RAF Cosford, organised by the Royal Air Force as well. So it should be hopefully a great show as well. We've got the Wings and Wheels show, which is at the City of Norwich Aviation Museum. That's on the 9th of July this year. We're going to be returning to the home of our 100th show for this meetup. We're going to hopefully see some of you guys and girls there at Norwich. And it's obviously they've got the Vulcan, they've got a Nimrod there as well, which you can go on board. You can go on board the Vulcan there as well, like we did for our 100th show. And they've also got a lot of static display aircraft on there, and the museum itself is right on the site of Norwich International Airport. So there's loads of stuff going on there during the day. It's hopefully it'll be a good day. So that's the 9th of July. Put that one in your diary if you can make your way over to the east of England here, where me and Matt are. Me and Nev are going to be at the Jersey Air Show on the 14th of September this year. We're going to be returning to the lovely island of Jersey for our second time to cover all the action there at the Jersey Air Show. So hopefully you guys and girls can make it over there. That'd be lovely to see you over there if you can get over there. It's a very nice part of the country, and as Nev said earlier in the show, it's he's been back there again. Like he's joined himself over there. It's a bit like Bergerac, Nev, with the old car and all that.
Well,
you know? Yeah. And we're going to have a bit of a meet-up this year, our PTUK meet-up. We're going to be doing that and holding that at the Duxford Battle of Britain air display. That's going to be on the 17th of September this year. So pop that in your diary, 17th of September. That's the Battle of the Duxford Air Show Battle of Britain display. That's going to be our big summer meet-up, and a chance to meet up with all you guys and girls there as well. I know we had a meet-up there a few years back, didn't we, Nev? And it was very popular.
Yeah, that was great, wasn't it? A few people flew in as well for the
yes.
occasion, which was great. So all weather dependent, of course, for the fly-ins, but the museums will be open anyway, regardless of the weather. But it's always nicer when the weather is nicer, which is why we're going to be doing it later in the year when things have perked up. And of course, in the UK at least, and I think most of Europe, the clocks go forward this weekend as well. So
this weekend,
getting a bit more light in the evenings, although slightly darker in the morning, briefly. But
yeah. So we hope to look forward and hope that some of you can make it to some of those shows that we'll be attending. It'll be great to see as many of you there as we can. And as we said, the Duxford display will hopefully be our PTUK meet-up for this year. But we might also do some other little bits and pieces during the year, so make sure you keep your eyes on our social media bits and bobs as well. So, Nev, do you want to let us know what you're up to next week? What's going on in the world of Nev? No
flying, sadly. Well, actually, I'm quite glad about it in a sense. We don't want any more police activity, do we? So what am I doing? I'm going to Leeds and York on Monday and Tuesday. Then I've got some meetings in London on Wednesday. Then I'm going to the Tate Modern on Thursday in London. Not because I'm in need of high levels of culture, although some people might say that I am in need of that. We've got one of our customers that's down there, so I'm looking forward to going and seeing him. And then it'll be Friday again. So, just lots of driving up and down the arteries of the United Kingdom this week.
Oh, you'll be back in the air soon, Nev?
Yes, next flying is booked for the 27th of April. Up to Edinburgh for an event that I'm doing up there. Yeah.
You do like flying up to Edinburgh, Nev, I have noticed.
Yeah, I'd be interested to work out how many flights I've actually done to Edinburgh since I started, not just this job, but in previous jobs as well. It's probably more than 100, I would say.
Blimey.
Wow.
I'm guessing, yeah. Over the last, 30 years.
And Edinburgh Airport, Nev, marks out of 10.
Well, it is a good airport. I mean, but as usual, they're expanding it a lot, and there's always, a bit of congestion here and there. But I mean, considering the number of flights that it actually handles now, and there's a little bit of US flying starting to go on. I think there's some United stuff going to Newark directly now as well. One airport that they've just never made the most of, considering how much the size of the runway and what have you, is Prestwick Airport on the west coast there. And it's one of the few airports that never gets sort of fogged in or anything. It's just got very good climate there. So, and considering it's such a long runway, but it tends to be used for the short haul stuff. But it has the potential for doing a lot more, I think. A lot more of the bigger stuff is going out of Glasgow these days as well. But no, Edinburgh is a very good airport to navigate your way through, as long as it's all going okay. I mean, during the strikes that the baggage handler strikes and all the rest of it that we had a few months ago, there were people queuing outside, and it wasn't a great experience. But yeah, actually the security part of it going through, I'm sure there's some sort of competition with the security boys and girls there to see how quickly they can get you through the system, because although it's busy, you feel as though you're on one of those bullet trains in Japan. You're being shoved on and then, moved out the other side. I'm not complaining about that, by the way, because I like that kind of thing. But no, it's a very efficient operation, I must say. But it is very busy these days. I remember going there, of course, it was in May of 2020. So we just finished the first bit of the lockdowns. And I did a sort of a bit of a test flight to Edinburgh.
Oh, I remember that, Nev.
And the only thing that was open was W.H. Smith. Nothing else was open at all. And I went to meet my boss there for a coffee. And I said, I'm going to have to come outside. There's nowhere in the terminal that's open that you can come for a coffee. So we went outside to the local Starbucks, I think it was. But yeah, that was amazing. And that was the same time, if you remember, when I was walking around T5 at Heathrow. Completely empty, just a very weird experience, and the first time I'd ever worn a face mask in public.
Very strange.
Nev's default to wear one around the house, but that's another story. But perhaps that's just a visual thing.
So, Nick, what's going on with you next week? Anything exciting?
No, I shouldn't think so. I'm actually changing jobs soon, so I'm in this sort of weird limbo at the moment where I'm kind of finishing off stuff and handing it over. And
I hope it's an aviation related job, Nick.
Sadly not.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, maybe one day. But, no, it'll be another quiet one for me, I think.
Oh. Well, I'm off next week. I've got a week off. A week away from work. We're going away to sunny North... Well, I say sunny. I use that word loosely. Sunny North Norfolk next week for a few days, so that'll be quite nice. So we're going to have a few days away, and yeah, should be nice to have a week off of relaxing. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. No lanes, though. I haven't done a lane for so many years. I forgot what lanes are these days. Anyway... Where do you want to bring the show to a close, Nev? I'm going to start to do all the bits that Matt normally does at this end of the show. So we'll hand it over to Nev to lead us out for the...
Yes, well, thanks very much indeed, everybody, for joining us this week. It's been an absolute pleasure bringing a lot of stories to you, actually. There's an awful lot of stuff there. Matt was not on the show this week, but he'll be back hopefully next week as well. Nick, thank you very much indeed for stepping in at short notice.
Thanks, Nick.
Pleasure.
And more importantly, thank you very much for your assistance as well, because with John being so busy in his world and we're all busy, we just need a bit more assistance these days with a bit of the production of the show. So Nick has very kindly offered to help us from time to time as well, which has been great. Meanwhile, I hope you have a great week. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, and we'll see you all same time next week.
Bye everyone.